Good evening and welcome to the October 3rd, 2017 Ogden City Council meeting. This is the 6 p.m. City Council meeting. Please note that all council members are present. However, Councilmember Blair has asked to be excused tonight. I will never get that right, just so you know. With that, I'll turn the time over to Vice Chair Heyer.
Yes, could we please all rise and recite the pledge with me? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a moment of silence. Please take a moment with me.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we also think of the victims and those who were involved in the shooting at Las Vegas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is a recognition, and I'm going to turn the time over to Vice Chair Heyer.
Thank you, Chair White. It's my pleasure to do this joint proclamation today. This is a joint proclamation of the Ogden City Council and Mayor, declaring October 2017 Community Planning Month in Ogden City. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places, and whereas community planning can help guide this change in a way that provides better choices for how people live and work, and whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community, and whereas the benefit of community planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas the American Planning Association and its Professional Institute and the American Institute of Certified Planners endorsed National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions sound planning and plan implementation make to the quality of our cities and environment. And whereas the American Planning Association's 2017 theme of innovation in planning underscores the important role planning plays in addressing and adapting to challenges faced by the communities in the 21st century. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the planning commissions and all other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of Ogden, Utah. And whereas the celebration also gives us the opportunity to recognize the many valuable contributions made by the professional community planners of Ogden, Utah, which include the city planning staff and the city's Community and Economic Development Department, and extend our heartfelt thanks to the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ogden City Council and Mayor Michael P. Caldwell hereby proclaim October 2017 as Community Planning Month in Ogden City. Community Planning Month in Ogden, Utah is part of a nationwide recognition and celebration of community planning and an opportunity to recognize all of the citizen and professional planners who have diligently worked to make Ogden a unique and vibrant place to live, work, learn, and play. And with that, I would make a motion that we adopt this joint proclamation declaring October 2017 as Community Planning Month in Ogden.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Councilmember Garner. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Chair White, I think it's important that we do, it should be known that tomorrow is, the Planning Commission will meet, and the planning staff will be present here in the chambers. And we'll come back and make that presentation to them at that time. So we haven't required them to be to another meeting. We want to just celebrate them for what they do tomorrow in their own meeting. But they do, having been on the Planning Commission for a number of years in the past, it is no small feat what they do. There is lots and lots and lots of hours of preparation, study, and then reflection on the issues that come before those planning commissioners through with recommendation from the staff. So it's not a small endeavor, and they should be celebrated for the work that they do.
Thank you. We could clap for them. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes. First is the closed session of February 21st, 2017, and the work session of March 21st, 2017. Councilmember Garner.
Yes, Chair White, I've reviewed those minutes and found them to be correct to the best of my recollection.
And the work session of April 18th, 2017, and the joint session of May 23rd, 2017. Vice Chair Heyer.
Yes, Chair White, I've reviewed those and found them to be accurate to the best of my recollection.
In the regular meeting of April 18th, 2017, and the regular meeting of June 20th, 2017. Councilmember Lopez.
Yes, Chair, I reviewed the minutes and I found them to be accurate to the best of my recollection.
Then the work session of May 2nd, 2017, Councilmember Stevens.
Yes, Chair, they're correct.
And the regular meeting of May 2nd, 2017, Councilmember Nadolski.
Thank you, Chair White. I've reviewed them and they appear accurate to my recollection, and I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
I second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Nadolski, second by Councilmember Stevens. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next on the agenda is a couple of items under the public hearings. The first one is the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment.
Chair Lisa Stat will be presenting that for the administration.
Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. The action before you is an ordinance to appropriate an additional $1,193,305 in the Ogden City budget. I'm going to quickly review what's included in that budget opening. Reminding the council that every fund is considered its own little self-balancing set of accounts. So I've outlined the revenues and the expenditure by appropriation. The first thing that's listed is an appropriation from the state of Utah. It's a grant for the Justice Court to improve technology in the court systems. This year, the amount is $4,375, and it will be used to improve the security cameras in the Justice Court. The second appropriation is to recognize a federal grant that has been awarded. This is an emergency management performance grant for the fire department, and this will be used for supplies. In the general fund, the next thing that is being appropriated is a ramp grant for the Arts Stroll in the amount of $5,000, and that will be budgeted in the arts events expenditures. We also have a grant from RAMP for $30,000. This is to support several activities at the amphitheater, including Monday night at the movies, Tunes at Noons, and other marketing at the amphitheater. And then we also have a state grant in the amount of $2,750. This is just a general operations grant for arts, and so it will be appropriated in the arts budget. We also have an appropriation in the general fund for ramp grant for a couple, they call these easy grants. They're generally between $1,500 and $2,500. The two ramp grants easy grants that the city has received include support for Cinco de Mayo, which will be held next May, and this is being budgeted in the Marshall White Center budget, and for 4th Street ballpark improvements. They buy some conditioning soil for the pitcher's mound in the amount of $2,000, and that is being budgeted in the recreation budget. Community and Economic Development is also requesting an appropriation from fund balance in the amount of $165,000. This will be budgeted as a transfer to the redevelopment agency for the Swift building demolition and remediation at that site. So that concludes the general fund appropriation, would increase the general fund revenue and expenditures by $227,625. The next fund that we have an appropriation for is the Marketing and Tourism Fund. This is proposing a use of fund balance in the Tourism and Marketing Fund. This is the hotel where we can't account for all of the hotel tax the city receives in the amount of $3,000 to support the Hispanic Festival. The next appropriation is in the capital improvement funds. This is to recognize a payment the city has actually received from the county in the amount of $148,880. This was a contribution to help with the park improvements at where the main library is. The county assisted the city with some of those costs, so this appropriation will go right back into the parks improvements account. The next appropriation is in the IT fund. We are asking for an appropriation of $700,000. Each year, the IT fund serves the city, other funds in the city, and other activities in the city by purchasing equipment and electronic needs. The IT fund recoups those costs by billing city funds for those services. So this is an anticipation of the activity for this year. And finally, we have an appropriation in the miscellaneous grants fund for another federal award. This is a law enforcement award. This will go towards equipment and supplies for the police department in the amount of $116,800. And it will also help pay for a part-time crime analyst in the RTCC. And also of note in this budget appropriation is a reappropriation for pay for performance. No additional funds were needed once the 4% raise that was awarded in the budget was allocated. We had to shuffle around some things in the general fund, but the total budget was sufficient to cover those increased wages. So this is an informational item for the council so that you're aware that those have been allocated. And the general fund, the total amount netted to zero, and all of the other funds also netted to zero. So, any questions?
Any questions? I just have one quick comment, and thank you for putting that on something that we can see, so that helps. This is a public hearing. I would like to, at this time, open the public hearing up to anyone who might want to talk about these budget amendments.
Madam Chair, seeing that there is no movement, I would make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion by Vice Chair Hyer, second by Councilmember Nadolski to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Chair White? If we're expected to vote on these item right now, which
Yeah.
I'm assuming we are, right?
Correct.
So I think I need to recuse myself because of that LUPEC item. I'm an active member of LUPEC, and I'm the founder of that organization. And even though it's a small item, I feel better if I recuse myself.
Fine. Councilmember Lopez will recuse himself from this vote. This is sorry. Motion.
Chair White, procedure dictates that Councilmember Lopez excuse himself from the room.
Good point. Thank you.
Can I peek from the wall?
Now I need a motion. Someone.
Chair White, I'll make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2017-40 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Nadolski, second by Vice Chair Hyer, to adopt the proposed ordinance 2017-40. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Garner,
Aye.
Councilmember Nadolski,
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Vice Chair Hyer,
Aye.
Chair White.
Aye. That passes.
I guess we could retrieve Councilmember Lopez now.
Right as he makes his way up.
This next item will be presented by Camille Cook.
It's the public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2018 capital improvement plan amendment.
Chair White and council members, it's great to be with you this evening. Administration is proposing an amendment to the fiscal year 2018 through 2022 CIP plan that was adopted earlier. This amendment would add CD 080, the Courtyard Inn Acquisition and Demolition Project, to the plan. This project is for the purchase and demolition of the Courtyard Inn located at 445 25th Street. Future plans for this project include developing the site into a public plaza that would help establish an arts district and act as a transition space between the East Central neighborhood and downtown, as well as a pedestrian-friendly corridor between Union Station and the library. The Planning Commission recommended this project for approval with an 8-1 vote and found this to be consistent with the city's general plan. And we recommend that you approve ordinance number 2017-41, amending the fiscal year 2018 to 2022 capital improvement plan by adding project CD 080 for the property purchase of 445 25th Street for use as a public plaza.
Any questions?
I have a question, Chair White. Is there any way to know the dissenting vote, about the dissenting vote?
We happen to have Mr. Montgomery here.
Yeah, the dissenting vote came from Commissioner Southwick. His feeling was, even though it was pointed out the item the Planning Commission is reviewing is this consistent with the general plan, he still felt he wanted to vote no because he felt the amount of money spent was not consistent with market prices. But that really is not a commission item to look at. They look at, is this consistent with the general plan?
Okay. Thank you.
And then I have another quick question. Although we're allocating the money in fiscal year 2018, we will not see that, it's for the development of, what do you call it, a park? No.
So Fiscal year 2018, you appropriated $250,000 toward the purchase of the property, and with a final payment will come for your consideration in fiscal year 2019 budget, and then the plaza would follow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before she leaves? All right. This is also a public hearing, and I would like to open the public hearing to anyone who would like to make comment regarding the capital improvement plan amendment.
Chair White, seeing no movement, I would make a motion we close public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Hire, second by Councilmember Garner to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Chair White, I would make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2017-41.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Hire, second by Councilmember Nadolski to adopt proposed ordinance 2017-41. This is a roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes. All right, on to the next agenda item, reports from the Planning Commission.
Mr. Montgomery, on Planning Month, will present.
Planning Month. It seems like it's been a month all night. I'm just
All
kidding.
night long, that's right.
That's why we honored you so much, is because you spend so much
We
time
want you to
here.
keep coming
Time you
back.
can never get back. You have before you tonight a petition which was submitted by a citizen regarding clarification of when front yard parking would be allowed. And so the Planning Commission reviewed that and is going to make a recommendation to you tonight. The petitioner was concerned with the fact that they have a small single-car garage, though they really can't use that garage. And as they look to provide for their parking needs, the present regulation says that if you have an alley, you need to use that alley to get access to parking in the backyard. As you can see in the red, that's the petitioner's property, and they do have what's called an abutters alley that runs along the south side of their property. Of course, the concern is, as you look at this photo then below, this is what that alley looks like from the street. It's hard to tell if it's the driveway to that garage or how you use that. The petitioner had hired a contractor to try to work within the ordinance, not understanding, assuming and trusting that the contractor said he had received a permit, which would have been reviewed by the planning staff and issued, which would have addressed the issues of the ordinance, but instead the contractor did not get a permit but pursued the work and installed the front yard parking slab. And when it came to his attention through a citation that the parking had been installed without a permit and would violate the ordinance, he petitioned then to have a consideration of changing the conditions of the front yard parking, specifically related to alley access. So presently, the way the ordinance reads is that parking is an area where you can build a garage. So that's either in the building envelope where the home is built or behind the home in that light shaded blue area. Those are all the areas that you can have parking in, the dark blue and the light blue. And as you can see in this picture to the right, that either happens with a detached garage behind the house or the garage is attached to the house or a carport, a legal parking space. The ordinance then says that if that's not possible because your home is built too close to the side property lines, then your first option is if you have an alley, you use that alley to access to put your legal parking in because you can't get to the rear yard from the front of the house because the side is too close to the property line. However, if that is not an option, if there's no alley present, then the ordinance says you can have up to 2 parking spaces in the front yard setback. And so this is the item that the petitioner wanted to talk about, the fact that he does have an alley, but he felt it was not reasonable access. So the discussion then talked about alleys in particular. I mentioned it's an abutters alley. Typically on any block in the city of some of the older subdivisions, those alleys are present. They either are a public alley, meaning the alley was dedicated to the city as a city right-of-way, or it was dedicated in common to all the people who abut or have touched that alley, hence the name of Butters Alley. In that case, they are private property, not owned by the city or controlled by the city, but are controlled in common by all those people who are against it. Of course, with the alleys, there are a lot of varying conditions. Some are, as you may be aware of, are areas for junk and debris. Some are overgrown and hard to access. Some, like the other ones we identified, are hard, you may be able to get to them, it's not clear. Or in some cases, they've been fenced off and other things have happened in those alleys. So as the commission discussed that, they said, okay, what are the key factors for consideration? Factor number one was, in this case particularly, while the person had a garage, if you tried to park a car in that garage, you could not get out of the car. The dimensions of the inside of the garage were built to a different standard than any vehicle today, other than I guess a Mini Cooper would accommodate. And so the commission felt it's important to understand that there may be some garages that just are not functional, and that should not be counted against that individual. If they can't use it, that they can't get into it, because dimensionally there's a problem with it, then that should not count as, well, you have your legal parking. So that should be a reason to allow and consider front yard parking. The other item was then a clarification of what is reasonable access in terms of, can you get to it from the side yard? So the ordinance then looks at defining what is that clear path to the side of the property. While 8 feet may exist, physically can you use it? Are there window wells? Are there utility meters? Are there grade separations and changes from the front to the back that make it difficult to access along that side yard? So the proposed ordinance clarifies those type of criteria to make it clear what is reasonable access. The other part that the ordinance then looks at, that the Planning Commission is recommending to you, is how those alleys really are. If the alley is less than 100 feet, and typically they're 16 feet wide, but at least a minimum of 12 feet, the Planning Commission felt that's reasonable access for those corner properties, or maybe even a second property. On this plat map, you'll see those blue arrows on the bottom right. There's actually two properties that are within 100 feet of that street from the alleyway, while on the left side, only two properties, one on each side, has access within 100 feet. But that would be reasonable access. Within 100 feet, you can take care of that. You can clear it out. That's not any different than a detached garage behind a home where you have a driveway, that you can still get that distance and clear it out. But if it's over 100 feet, then it becomes more difficult for that person who wants to use that alley to really keep it clean, because other people may be doing things in it that may be difficult for them to try to access it. And so the commission said, we'll create a new definition of what reasonable access is, and that is, if it's less than 100 feet, that's reasonable access as far as to be able to get to parking. But if it's more than 100 feet, it needs to be paved so it can be easily maintained. That's another criteria of reasonable access. If that condition does not exist, then the commission said it's appropriate to look at front yard parking. But they defined it in such a way as to, again, clarify how can you park in that area. Rather than just saying it has to be hard surface, the Planning Commission expanded that definition and said it can be concrete, it can be asphalt, it can be tire runners. For example, on that picture in the upper right-hand corner, you see what those tire runners. It could be sod blocks, that lower picture is sod blocks. It could be block and cobblestone. Those types of hard surfaces would now be acceptable to try to make it more appealing to how that front yard parking would look, to give a variety of options rather than just strictly a concrete or asphalt pad. That these also would be acceptable means to look at reasonable parking. The Planning Commission then, in their recommendation to you, stated that front yard parking should be revised to say that if you have reasonable access being defined as that alley behind you within 100 feet or paved past 100 feet, if that's a condition, and also clearing the definition of side yard access, that you have a clear side yard access, those are reasonable accesses, so you'd park in the back. If those factors are not there, though, parking in the front yard would be allowed. The Planning Commission recommended that there also be a clarification that the minimum parking width is 9 foot wide rather than the 10 foot that had been in the ordinance before. But this would allow the petitioner, in the case of what he was trying to do, to really be legal with the front yard parking that was established, and also clarify for future people what is reasonable access, because before this petition, reasonable access was if you have an alley, you got to use it. Even if it's not usable, you still have to use it, and you can't have the option of front yard parking. This now then clarifies that can take place if these conditions are met, and they're clear and definable standards of then what becomes that access, rather than just you have an alley, you've got to do it. So the Planning Commission's recommendation to you on a 5-0 vote is to approve this proposed ordinance amendment.
Questions for Mr. Montgomery? I have one. Is it up to the petitioner to pave the alley then?
If
Or
they,
is that
if they
something-
desire to use the alley as their approach rather than the other way, then they would have to do that.
And he could work with other properties along that abutter's alley.
Because it would be a benefit to other people as well as himself. But that'd be something he would take on again, because generally the city has no control of that alley.
Any other questions for Mr. Montgomery?
Thank you for listening to us and addressing all our questions during the work session.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. I don't know. Is the petitioner here for this? You're the petitioner? Would you like to say any other comments? Or?
I would just like to add, when we made the improvements to our property, we by no means were trying to circumvent any rules. We thought that we had acted under the correct ways to conduct that business, and it actually wasn't until we tried to get another building permit from the city to further take care of what we'd already done that we found out that the work that we had done was done not in compliance. And so we've done everything that we can to try and come to compliance, and we felt, as the gentleman just spoke very clearly, that it wasn't reasonable for us to try and maintain the alleyway, to remove snow, to grade it out during the summer. We didn't feel like that was reasonable for us to be able to obtain that parking. And so that's what led us to file the petition to amend that.
Fantastic.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thank you. All right. Well, this is, any other public input to this petition in general? No? Okay.
Ready for a motion?
It doesn't look like anyone else is.
Okay, I'll make a motion then that we adopt ordinance 2017-42.
I second it.
Motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Councilmember Stevens. To adopt this proposed ordinance 2017-42. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Nadolski?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Garner?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Heyer?
Aye.
Chair White?
Aye, that passes. Well, your house looks nice, at least from what the pictures are.
Chair White, apparently we have cut somebody off that wanted to address this. We did ask to receive public input, but do we want to let them come forward?
Yes, I'd be fine. Do you want to come forward regarding this? We've already voted on this particular. No. Okay, all right. Next is public comment, so.
Okay.
All right, next on our agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding issues or on any topic. Now, would you like to come up, Ms.?
Sorry to be late.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, sorry.
Just perfect timing. How's that?
My name is Sebastian Benitez for the record. I am coming to talk about some speeding issue we have in my neighborhood. On September 19, my year-old boy, my son, and his friend almost run over by Wasatch Elementary. Sorry, I am so tired. I was trying to make on time, but anyway, my petition is to the mayor to take care about the speeding in our neighborhood. Wasatch is allowed 326 students, and I don't want to see any accident there and kill somebody. We have sometimes people hurry to make the job on time or in the meeting, this meeting. You know. But anyway, I was talking with Daniel Gillis, something. I don't know he is here or not. I told him to come today. He explained to me the whole process. And I agree with him. And any complaint, anything like that, just the only thing I am requesting is some solution about the speeding in my neighborhood. And Wasatch is really critical, no sidewalk, no flashing. Ben is living around there too, and my boy take bike with his friend and to get to school, and other 326 children too, and that is a real problem for us, and I don't want to see accident or somebody die before we take some action. And a stop sign help, but do not solve the problem. We still have a lot of speeding there. And the stop sign by the corner, the Ben Landowski house, helped something. The 32nd on the Tyler helped too, down the hill. I take the picture just last week and other accident for speeding there. But we need some solution about the speeding by Wasatch. Draper City, Syracuse, they have slow speed bump. It's like big one is, do not stop the traffic, do not stop the vehicle circulation, and a stop sign is stop the traffic, but do not solve the problem. When I drive by Draper or Syracuse, I can drive slow. I don't have an option to go faster because I will damage my car. And I was talking with the mayor and Draper, and I asked him, I asked him, how do you solve the problem? And he said, that helped me. The soft speed bump helped me to keep better around the elementary. I am not talking about high school because they are bigger enough. Our children are wild. They don't know many things how take care better, you know.
So your 3 minutes are up, so I
Thank
have
you.
to cut you off on that.
Thank you, and I will continue talking with Daniel, and I need some result. And there is my letter, my offer to the city about budget or whatever we need, you know.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, neighbor.
Any other public comment? All right. Comments from the mayor?
Mr. Benitez, we are working on that, and we work on safe passage through all city and school zones. So we appreciate your comments, and we'll make sure that gets addressed, and we'll work on ways to address that. That's a very generous offer. There is a process, though, to monitor and put pipes out and understand exactly what's happening before we react to things. But know that we're very, very focused on making sure that our kids, my kids included, my kids go to Mount Ogden Junior and Ogden High and everything else, and I want them to be able to come and go and feel real safe about that. It's part of the safe routes around schools and bike master plan and everything else. So we're working on that. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate you coming down tonight, and we'll go to work on that. I do want to make one comment before I close. I think a lot of us that work in city governments and in areas where people gather and want to be a part of a community and everything else are more than a little bit horrified about what happened late last night in Las Vegas. I had a daughter that was down there a week ago, exact same venue, thought she was going to be enjoying a great thing and everything else, and luck of timing was something different. And I posted something on Facebook I'd just like to reiterate in a public meeting and hope we can all think about a little bit. And it's always been funny when I've said this, but those of us, Ben, you might not be in a part of that. Luis, you may not have been here for some of that, but Mr. Rogers had a great comment, and I've said this a number of different times, when he got really scared and something ugly happened, and there was a lot of anxiety and everything else when he was a young boy growing up. And he said his mom used to always tell him, in any ugly or scary event, look for the helpers. You'll always find people who are helping. And in any event like that, you have one person that's made a terrible choice, a terrible decision, and that gets to be how the news media and everyone else covers it. What gets lost are the hundreds of people that rush in and all the people that are willing to help and everything else. I'm proud of Ogden for being a community. We were recognized as the second most charitable community in the world. I think our men in blue and in red that run in when everybody runs out are great examples of that, but I hope we can all be helpers, whether we're in blue and red or whether we're donating blood or whether we're having compassion and finding ways to help each other out. That's what defines the communities we live in. I'm proud of that. I was heartbroken, couldn't even watch the news after so many of these kinds of events that we've seen, but as Mr. Rogers' mom stated, son, focus on the helpers. There's always stories about the helpers and those that are willing to do what nobody else is willing to do. And that's the real story, that's the real narrative of America and some of our communities. And so, got one over there. I'm sure none of the others will listen. But thank you all for what you do. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all those volunteers that step up when other people don't. And it's really important that we just say, thank you to all those that show up when most others don't. So. It was an emotional day yesterday for somebody being in municipal government and an environment where we deal with communities and special events and everything else. It's overwhelming to watch, but it's overwhelming to know what other people contribute to provide us with this quality of life and the love and ability to raise our families in a wonderful environment. So just felt compelled to say that. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I echo what the mayor said. It's evident that it brings out the character of the citizens of this great country and the communities that they live in. We saw that very evident also in our own area with the Uena fire, where our first responders and our police were there assisting as recognized by the Weber County Commissioners. And the organization by which we do have in our fire and our police department. And I think it speaks volumes of the characters that we have in both of those agencies, but also it speaks volume of the leadership that we have in those agencies. It was hard to see those and trying to understand the reason and the motives behind such an act that involved there in Las Vegas, but we'll probably never understand the scope of that tragedy. But I want to thank our fire and our police for the type of job and the professionalism that they exercise in our community to make it safe. Only one suggestion. I wonder, Mayor, if we could maybe have some traffic control, maybe not only in Wasatch, but maybe around some of the other schools to see if there is any other elements that we need to look at there.
Comments?
Well, those are difficult comments to follow, but so I'll just lean on the comments made by the mayor. Appreciate that. I was around to recognize the beautiful day in the neighborhood. But so to get to the comments in the neighborhood, appreciate Mr. Benitez being here. I've heard a lot of the same remarks from a lot of the neighbors as well about concerns in the Wasatch Elementary area. Like the mayor said, there is a process, and I'm very comforted to know, and hopefully you are too, having gotten to meet Daniel Gillies, our traffic engineer. We've got exceptional professionals with a lot of background expertise. Take a look at it, and I think I think we'll find that our engineers will always provide good recommendations to keep our neighborhoods safe. So I look forward to seeing what those recommendations are going to be from those engineers, and I hope we can put together a solution, because I think Mr. Benitez is right, and a lot of the neighbors are concerned as well, as am I. Thanks.
And I will also say that Councilmember Nadolski does not hold back on his comments regarding this. So we all know this issue quite well. So, yeah. Any other comments? All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer and second by Councilmember Garner to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, that's getting faster. We're moving on to our special redevelopment agency meeting of October 3rd, 2017. Please note that all board members are present. However, Board Member Blair has asked us if he could be excused for this evening, and we said yes. How's that?
That was good.
Okay.
Very smooth.
On the agenda, we have the approval of minutes, the special meeting of November 1st, 2016, and closed session of November 1st, 2016. Board Member Stevens.
Yes, Chair, they're correct.
Special meeting of December 20th, 2016, and the special meeting of June 20th, 2017. Board Member Nadolski.
Thank you, Chair White. They appear accurate to my recollection.
The joint session of July 11th, 2017. Vice Chair Heyer.
Yes, Chair White, I think they are accurate to my recollection.
Motion to approve them?
Oh, and I would move that we approve the minutes that have been presented tonight.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Board Member Nadolski. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. Those pass. Next on our agenda is public hearings regarding the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment.
Lisa Stat will be presenting this.
The resolution before the board this evening is to appropriate a transfer from the general fund in the amount of $165,000. This was just approved by the city council to be transferred to the RDA. This would be appropriated in the track line area to assist. The Swift building has now been purchased by the city, and remediation costs are estimated with this to be just under $1.3 million. We have a budget of 1.284 to assist with those costs. Any questions regarding this budget, this resolution?
Any comments or questions?
Thank you.
Right, this is a public hearing. And anyone here to comment regarding the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment regarding the Swift building, please come forward.
Seeing no one's left, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Board Member Garner to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is closed.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve proposed resolution 2017-8.
Second.
We have a motion by Board Member Lopez, second by Board Member Garner. This is a roll call, or to adopt the proposed resolution 2017-8. This is a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye, that passes. Next on our agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the redevelopment agency regarding any concerns or ideas on any topic. Seeing no movement on that, any comments from the executive director?
Well, since not everybody came at once, I will just say no further comment at this time. Thank you very much.
Comments from the board members? I just want to thank Brandon Cooper for all the work he's done. This is a great opportunity for us on the Swift building, so. All right, motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Board Member Garner, second by Vice Chair Heyer to adjourn. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's a wrap. Thank you very much.